Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Grim, and I'm bringing you a brand new review for House of the Dragon. So, in our latest episode, folks, we have ourselves another time skip. And it is strange to see, characters like Allison and Rhaenyra, now basically adults, after we saw them in the first episode as basically teenagers. Um, Among the many things within the time skip, let's see. The king looks like complete garbage. He is pretty much on the verge of dying. The man has an the man has an amputated arm. His hair is all but fallen out, and he basically looks like a, how shall we say, dying cancer patient. I'm sorry, that was mean, but I mean, it is true. We have to call it as we see it. Alicent has grown quite, how shall we say, paranoid, cold, and rightfully so, anxious about being in the Red Keep with Rhaenyra on the verge of becoming queen. Speaking of Rhaenyra, my god, this woman, wow, what happened? Folks, the last time we left off with her, she slept with Sir Kristen, who is, by the way, he is unbelievably pissed off with this woman. um, but this is the thing. We open up the episode with Rhaenyra, who I didn't realize it was Rhaenyra until it was, they said princess, and I went, oh, that's Rhaenyra. Until, giving birth to her a child. Now, when you see her child, when we see her children, we go, wait a second. And we see the commander of the city's watch, we go, wait a second, what's going on here? And that's the big old surprise of the episode. Rhaenyra has had, what, 3 kids with the commander of the city's watch, and I went, oh, this is not going to end well for her. But, yeah, like I said, episode starts off with Rhaenyra giving birth. The princess, is then asked, hey, the queen one of the handmaidens comes up and goes, hey, the queen wants to see your children, or wants to see your newborn. And Rhaenyra is like, I'll go there myself, and my god. Even after just giving birth, Rhaenyra is like, I'm gonna go see this bitch. Because, as you might imagine, their friendship has gone down the toilet. All but down the toilet, I should say. So, we also see her husband, Lenora, who has, my god, he has enjoyed life living in King's Landing. He has enjoyed life there. Gets to fuck around, literally and metaphorically. Gets to drink all he wants, gets to do all the shit he wants, doesn't have to worry about it too much, because guess what? He's gay. So, political marriages, aren't they fun? Now, here's the honest truth about the episode as a whole. I could keep going into detail, but the thing is, there are only a couple scenes that really mattered, right? You have, the short introduction with the kids of both Rhaenyra and Alicent and how they interact with each other. It's, there's only one important scene between Alicent and her oldest son, Aegon. That is probably the more important scene with her children, but as a whole, there's not really much. There's also a bit of, like, some teasing and, honest to God, dicking around where, one of her children doesn't... One of Alicent's sons hasn't gotten a dragon yet, like his brothers, or his older brother, and his cousins. Or... yeah, cousins. No, look. I'd have to look at the family tree. I'd have to look at the family tree again to figure that out. Anyway, correct me on what the relationship is, because I'm trying my best to figure. I don't think it's cousins. It could be halves. No, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it there. Anyway, like I said, you have the birthing scene. You then have people starting to ask questions about what's going on regarding, like, for example, Alicent and Sir Kristen are both they both know what's up. They both know that, the commander of the city's watch is the father of all 3 of the children. Everybody knows it. They just choose not to say anything. Even the king, even Viserys, who's probably the best good guy he's the good guy in the I categorize him as the character who's like, he's done nothing necessarily wrong, right? He's just kind of there in the sense of, like, you could tell he doesn't want to deal with all this, like, political drama, and so he just chooses to ignore it and just goes, look, she's my daughter, I'm going to trust her, even though I know she's probably spreading her legs for the commander of the city's watch and going behind my back. But I'm going to choose to ignore it because she's my daughter and I love her and all this other stuff. And I'm the king. Anyway, as I said, you have the first scene. You have the conversation between Sir Criston and Alicent. Then you also have a fight that did break out between Sir Criston and the commander of the city's watch after Sir Criston went kind of a little, how shall we say, it was a bit of a dickhead to the kids, especially those of the city's watch, and he more or less exposed it for everybody to see and go, why would the commander of the city's watch care that the children of the princess and the heir to the Iron Throne is getting rough handled by one of the king's, one of the members of the king's guard? It basically exposed it for everybody to see, and it basically further spread rumors that maybe there's something up there. Was it a dick move overall? Sure, by Kristen. Yeah, it was. Then you have Lionel being absolutely pissed off with his son, who is the commander of the city's watch, who's absolutely infuriated. He's beyond pissed off with his son about what he did. Now, he also then told his son, oh, because of this screw up, I'm going to have to kick you out of the, well, he didn't say it in that scene, but it was, there was a more important conversation down in the episode, later in the episode, that confirmed this. But Lionel basically then removed his son from being commander of the city's watch and said, you're going to go back to, Harrenhal, because you're going to get us all fucked over in the end because of this mistake. Now, there is then a conversation that does play out. There is a meeting. That's what it was. It was a meeting between Viserys, Alicent, Rhaenyra, Lionel, and other members of the small council, where they talk about the steppes being a mess again, and there's talks of war again in that region. Because, it happened because, again, it's medieval times. When the hell don't people take the opportunity to rise up against their overlords? Now, that wasn't the important part of the conversation. That was almost like a side thing. The important thing was the tension in the room between Alicent and Rhaenyra, and how they kind of seemed to be being petty towards each other. Look, it was pettiness. Nobody can say it wasn't, but it's justified pettiness in a sense. And where they tried to make nice, at the very end of it, Rhaenyra tries to make nice with Alicent by saying, hey, we should, resolve our differences, and I suggest we marry my oldest son to your only daughter to tie our houses together. Alicent, in that moment, anybody with a working pair of eyes could see Alicent wanted to basically spit in her face, say, go fuck yourself, ho. I don't want my daughter anywhere near your son. I was just laughing my ass off in that scene. Then what followed up was another important conversation where, Viserys and Alicent are arguing because she's trying to tell the king, like, hey, your daughter's a whore. Your daughter's spreading her legs for the commander of the city's watch. Former at this point, but you get the point. 3 kids now. 3 kids all have the same hair color as the city of the commander's watch and have a striking resemblance to the man. One is a coincidence. No, one is, I forget what it is. 1 is accidental. 2 is a coincidence. And 3 is just like, come on, you can't ignore it at this point kind of thing. Right? And they have a conversation in their room where she's trying to get Viserys to see reason and understand it. Where she even says he knows what she knows. He knows deep down that his daughter is fucking around with the commander of the city's watch, and all her children are illegitimate bastards to the Iron Throne. And so, you think, will the king see reason? I don't think so. I think he will stay willfully ignorant. And so, this brings in Lionel, the hand of the king. He comes into the room, then he goes, sir, he basically goes, I'm handing in my resignation, and I'm going to take my son back to Harrenhal. He goes, the king's like, why? And Lionel's like, it's just something my son did that I tarnished. Not only, I am not unbiased. I am not, partisan. I'm not that kind of person because of the decisions I've had to make recently. And so, and Alicent tried to get Lionel to say what it is that's making him, give up his position as Hand of the King and why he's going back to Harrenhal with his son. And in all fairness, this did bring up something. She then later has a conversation with Larys, who's one of Lionel's sons, where she basically said that her father, and she even admits this. Yes, she's being um completely partisan in the sense of partisan towards her, or biased towards her, because if her father was here, her father would have flat out said, no, your daughter is whoring herself out to the commander of the city's watch and has given birth to 3 of his children. Sir, you tell me, what does that mean for the rest of the kingdom and what she's doing? And this is the thing. That's the one thing she did point out, because if that's one thing we can say about Otto, he was willing to tell the truth. Because remember, in a couple episodes back, when the rumors first started about Rhaenyra and Daemon, he didn't hesitate to tell Viserys. He didn't hesitate to go to his king, the father of Rhaenyra and the brother to Daemon, and go, "Sire, your daughter and your brother were caught in a brothel. They were doing something that shouldn't be done between 2 family members." And so and another thing is, again, those words that we heard back, I think last episode, are coming back to kind of almost are coming back in a sense, right? Because we have no idea what's going to happen once once she sits on the Iron Throne. But like I said, we have that conversation play out. Alicent is beyond frustrated about what's going on. Then we have like a scene where the commander of the city's watch he's leaving, he says goodbye, and that's when Rhaenyra's oldest realizes that was his father, and he asks his mother, goes, "Am I a bastard?" And that, my ladies and gentlemen, is the important question of the day. Is the fact that her oldest son is the child, of the commander of the city's watch, going to affect her reign in the long run? Yeah, I have, how shall we say, I'm placing a lot of money on that idea. So, then we have I'm leaving out the Daemon stuff because Daemon stuff is kind of in the background. He did, the only important thing to note is he married Lenora, the sister to, to Rhaenyra's husband, Rhaenyra's sister-in-law. She married Daemon, and she's had 2 of his children, and was pregnant with his third. Keyword being was. Again, and that's, like I said, that is background stuff. It really has, it has some relevance in the sense of Daemon's journey and everything he's been going through, but it's kind of been in the background. The important thing is, looking at the giant political ramifications of what's going to happen in King's Landing and all of Westeros. Then we have one final scene. Like I said, I'm skipping quite a bit with this episode because there wasn't really too much noteworthiness, where without really saying it and without really meaning it, Alicent talked to Larys, who then, how shall we say, orchestrated a assassination attempt. Or how shall we say, he orchestrated the assassination of the commander of the city's watch, or the former, I should say, former commander of the city's watch, the former Hand of the King, and a whole lot of people in Harrenhal, with using a bunch of criminals who, obviously, if they were captured, couldn't say shit, because you want to know why? Their tongues were cut off, so they couldn't speak. And again, all of them are dead. Now, as a whole, this episode was more of like it's a time skip, and we're looking at everything that's being set up for down the road. So this was kind of more of we skip forward in time. Viserys' health is even worse. Rhaenyra's given birth to a couple of children. Alicent gave birth to a couple more. Oh, speaking of children, this is the one thing. This is the last thing I will mention from the episode. Alicent had a very important conversation with Aegon, her oldest son. And she basically told him that you can't be so stupid. You can't be naive. Because should there be any threats, well, no, the kid said to her, "Oh, well, I won't challenge her claim to the Iron Throne." Alicent very firmly told him, "You are the threat to the Iron Throne. You yourself, your very existence is what's going to make Rhaenyra want to kill you. Because you, not only do you carry the blood of a Targaryen in you, but you also just you being a guy, you being the heir, Targaryen, and you carrying the name of Aegon himself, the very person who conquered and united the Seven Kingdoms together, is what's going to be the reason why she comes after you. Just for all those superficial things. Some more superficial than others, but just all those things alone make you go, you will be a target. Please keep an eye on yourself. Please don't be stupid and think everything's going to be happy dappy, right? And again, all this is setting up what's going to be how shall we say, I can already see how badly south this is all going to go. Like, it's going to go really poorly. So as a whole, I enjoyed the episode. It was, like I said, following the last episode with the whole royal wedding, or royal dinner, I should say. Yeah, it was a bit of a it's not as like there's not as much going on simply because there's a lot of setup going on in the background. Lots of events are playing out, or lots of events are being set up to play out, and lots of things are happening as we speak. Right? Lionel is dead. Rhaenyra's lover and the father to her 3 children are dead. Her oldest at least is figured out he's a bastard. Allison is trying to get her oldest son to realize the threat that may be on the horizon. Viserys is being willfully ignorant to all of this because he's like, I don't want to deal with this shit. I'm gonna die soon. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Daemon just lost. So, like I said, there's tons of things happening that we won't see the consequences, or at least some of the consequences for these decisions until later on. Now, I will say one thing. There was a bit of a thread going around. I saw this on Twitter where they talked about Alicent being worse than Cersei in terms of being a human being, not the character. The character's been written very well so far. And my immediate reaction to anybody who thinks Alicent is on Cersei's level has never seen Game of Thrones. If you're going to try and tell me that literally like I said, Cersei as a human being was detestable from the very moment we saw her as a character. She did things that make you go, fuck you, bitch. While Alicent's whole thing is, I want to protect my children. That's the only similarity. The only thing that they share is their desire to defend their children. However, there's a very big difference between Cersei, who is a Lannister, who's doing it out of, wanting to secure power for not only her children, but for her family. Alicent merely wants to protect her children, knowing what's coming on the horizon the moment her former friend takes the Iron Throne. She knows what's coming on the horizon. She goes, I want to make sure my children are shielded from that disaster that is on the horizon. Right? So for me, I look at this and I go, Alicent is a very different person, because guess what happened at the end? You want to know what happened at the very, very end of the episode? When Larys informed Alicent about what he had done and what he had orchestrated, she was horrified. She was like, I didn't want that to happen, though. Because look, maybe further down the road, she continues to make these kinds of decisions more and more, and maybe loses that, like, kind of almost that how shall we say, that level of regret, and that level of just like horror, being horrified at these decisions. But we have to wait and see. So for anybody who's saying she's as bad as Cersei Lannister, I have to tell them, I have to ask the simple question of, did you watch the first couple seasons of Game of Thrones? Now, like I said, I think I've said everything I've needed to say, ladies and gentlemen. I like the episode overall. It's, like I said, it's not as fast paced. It's not as much as happening. A bit of setup. Some things are going on in the background. But overall, it was solid, right? It did what it needed to do. It introduced, the kids who are probably going to be important as the series progresses, because we are on episode 6. 4 more episodes to go. So we're going to find out what's bound to happen down the road. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Grim. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, let me know what you guys think about this episode. And I'll see you guys next time.